Okay, students. So, I've had a go at doing this one. You'll see from my notes on the page here that I've struggled with the rhyme scheme for this one. And I don't think that's because I've suddenly become rubbish at this, although that is a distinct possibility after doing 4 videos on the trot. I think it's because there is a non-uniform rhyme scheme. Look at that. And with that, he made his error into a virtue. So there's clearly some stuff that rhymes. I can see there's a quatrain, dead, free me, bed, quatrain to start with, see, wink and think, before and more, couplet, think, shrink, wink, think, shrink. So we've got alternate lines that rhyme there. But then what's the thou doing? What's the see doing? Lie and I, couplet, and now and thou, maybe the quatrain there, yeah. And then a triplet at the end, right? So it's, there's a triplet there, there's a quatrain up here, there's one down there, but it's non-uniform, is what I'm saying. So my inability to do this particularly well, please, if you can see a rhyme scheme in there that you can say, oh, no, Phil, this is how it works, and it's this particular tradition of poetry that you don't know about, really happy to learn about it, but I think there's a sense of a lack of uniformity in here. And I think that makes sense. It's sort of a bit disjointed in its rhyme scheme because it is direct, aggressive, low register, angry, and a bit disturbing in tone. So another one that's not ironic, I don't think. I don't think it's supposed to be a joke. I think it's pretty nasty. So, when by thy scorn, O murderess, I am dead. Another one by John Donne. Okay. When by thy scorn, O murderess, I am dead, and that thou thinkst thee free from all solicitation from me, then shall my ghost come to thy bed. Now, that's a really, really hefty opening quatrain there, isn't it? Dead, free, me, bed. So, I don't know what you think about this, but I think that if you break up with somebody, or if they, if you think you're going out with them, or you start courting them or whatever, and they go, nope, go away, I'm not sure that the best response is to say, well then, I'll be dead soon, and then you'll be sorry. I think that's possibly quite aggressive, childish, egotistical in nature, possibly. It's like the email, isn't it? Don't send the email after a breakup. Don't do it, no good can come of it. You write it and don't send it if you want a cathartic process, but it's very angry in tone, is the poem. So, thou thinkst thee free from all solicitation from me. So, solicitation I'm taking to mean, like courtship or wooing in some way. You're trying to date, that type of thing. And so he's going after this woman and she's rejected him. And he's saying, well, then you'll kill me then, right? It's not necessarily a threat of killing yourself, but there's certainly the subtext there. But it's more sort of an idea of supernatural justice, really. The idea that when you're dead, I'm going to haunt you. I mean, people have said that as jokes, I've heard them do it, but this seems to be quite direct and quite, what he really means by it. So, very direct, very conversational, very angry, I'm going to haunt you, right? Now, that's transcendent, actually. It's transcendent because ghosts are supernatural, aren't they? So it's non-material, but that's not the same as saying the eternal, everlasting beauty of love, or the wonder of agape, or the world contracted out of the love of God, or whatever. This is like, I'm going to be a ghost and haunt you. So it is a transcendent object, but it's pretty prosaic in its use, isn't it? I've always wondered as well, why do ghosts hang around in graveyards? If you could, the Earth's spinning through the universe at thousands of, miles an hour. The galaxy's wheeling through the universe at millions of miles an hour. The Earth itself is rotating. So ghosts are supposed to stick to the surface of the Earth as it's whizzing through space and survive their own death. And yet, where do they hang out? They hang around in graveyards. It's mental. So I'd go to Disneyland. Do you know what I mean? I would, if I could survive my own death and sort of travel through things. Why do you have to hang around? Oh, it's Phil. It's because you have to stay by your body. Oh, of course it is. Right, sorry about that. It just seems really limited, doesn't it? If you're supernatural, you should be able to do anything, shouldn't you? Just fly through the Earth. They'll fly off into space or whatever. I'd go to see a black hole or something. But they just hang around in gravestones. I'm completely sidetracked, intelligent for all these guys. But it's important for this poem. It's a transcendent supernatural entity, a ghost. It's supernatural, but used for a very low base purpose, which is revenge. See, brought it back to something meaningful, didn't I? Right. The feigned Vestal. Now, Vestal is collocative with Vestal Virgin, so feigned, sort of like a virgin possibly there, but also like a fake, duplicitous woman in whose arms shall see, then the sick taper will begin to wink. So he's imagining this image of like nighttime, and I'm going to come as a ghost wherein you're in bed and your taper will wink. Now, it could be literal, like the candle's going to gutter, or a guttering candle's going to start to flash, or it could be thou taper, like your life will seem like it's ebbing from you. And he whose thou art then, being tired before, will, if thou stir or pinch him, think thou calls for more. Now, I told you this was angry, and I told you it was aggressive and violent and abusive. And let's just think about what's being said here. So, being tired before. Oh, so you're in bed with somebody else now, and you're with a man, and I'm going to come to you as a ghost, and you're going to be with a bloke, and he's going to be tired. Right. So, it's another idea, we see this again, of women being not just duplicitous, but promiscuous. This idea that women are not to be trusted and are sort of sexually promiscuous. So here she is in bed with this new dude. Will, if thou stir or pinch to wake him, think thou callest for more. So this idea of women as sexually promiscuous. But I think the sort of the anger here, this idea that I'm going to emotionally abuse you from beyond the grave, it's not really what I think the supernatural's about. It should be about beauty and love and all that type of stuff. Here it's being used for revenge. Will, if thou stir or pinch to wake him, think thou calls for more, and in false sleep from thee will shrink. I was brilliant. I was thinking, you'll think you're calling for more because that's what you like, isn't it? But he's going to be sick of you then as well. He's going to false sleep from thee will shrink, so you'll be just left on your own. So images of isolation and gothic and all the rest of stuff, this imagery. And then, poor aspen wretch, neglected thou bathed in a cold quicksilver sweat will lie. So this imagery, he's imagining this imagery of her cold, shaking, terrified body, aspen wretch. She's white and covered in cold quicksilver sweat, quicksilver's mercury, I think. So this idea of beads of horrifying sweat, bathed in it. So he's reveling in her pain from beyond the grave, is what he's saying is going to happen. A verier ghost than I. What will I say? What I will say, I will not tell thee now. So it's very threatening in tone, that lest that preserve thee. So I won't even tell you what I'm going to say, but you rest assured it's going to be terrible. And since my love is spent, I'd rather thou shouldst painfully repent than by my threatenings rest still innocent. So he's saying that now my love is spent, so I now have no more love for you. I'd rather thou shouldst painfully repent than by my threatenings rest still innocent. So I don't want to threaten you and make you be innocent as a result of that. I'd rather thou shouldst painfully repent. I want you to suffer, is the argument of it. I can't keep up with Donne. I don't know about you. I find it very hard to keep up because, it's wonderful, it's amazing, but goodness me, he's a very, very complex man. Okay, now, there is a possibility of an ironic tone. You could do some work to demonstrate that. It's too much, it's hyperbolic, it's over the top. But it's an interesting use of transcendent ideas, supernatural ideas, for very, very base, prosaic, down-to-earth, and really quite abusive means. So, again, we have passive female participant, but it's changed here. We have a non-uniform rhyme scheme, a disjointed sense, a direct, aggressive tenor. The idea of being a ghost is questionable contextually, so although belief in ghosts in folklore and things along those lines is common, really you're not supposed to believe in ghosts as Christians. There's different views about this, but essentially either the body is the spirit or the spirit stays in the body or stays in purgatory or whatever until the end of days. But the point is that ghosts are questionable. Don't say as a Christian you're not allowed to believe in ghosts. It's not quite that simple, but belief in ghosts is questionable. So it's this sort of almost folkish revenge idea that I'll haunt you after I'm dead. Perhaps it's meant as a sort of ironic threat in some way, or perhaps it's almost a cathartic poem for the poet. in that way. But it's interesting to see how this sort of threatening tone contrasts with the absolute beauty of love and transcendence that we see in other parts of the poem. I think quite like this sort of idea. So, what I will say I will not tell thee now, lest that preserve thee. I can't think of something more anti-poetic than that. What I will say I will not tell thee now. I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to say. It's not poetry, is it? That's like, I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to say. Telling me what you're going to say, or saying it, that's poetry. But it's so angry, it's so monosyllabic, it's so direct in its tone that it's sort of... I think it's a lot of fun, actually, if it wasn't for the fact it's so horrible, So yeah, I think this is a good one to do as a nice contrast to perhaps the transcendent love. It's a good one perhaps to do if you're looking at ideas of representation of women, for example, or if you're looking at use of the supernatural or use of transcendent ideals, because here we have something transcendent and supernatural, which is a ghost. It's non-material. It's spirit essentially being used as an agent of vengeance and inflicting pain rather than beauty and love, or agape or whatever, or God or something like that, as we see in lots of the other poems. Right. Thank you.